And the globalists are doing everything they can right now to try to suppress this transmission. We told you months ago, Drudge talked about it, censorship on Facebook, blocking Drudge links. Now Congress has whistleblowers saying, no, we drop, we block InfoWars links, we block DrudgeReport.com links. It's happening because we're saying something they don't want to be heard, like having Roger Stone on or having his articles. Everything he's told us, everything has come true. Everything has happened. He told me 11 months ago they tried to steal the election at the primary level. And it all happened. They never did that before at this level, at this magnitude. And just on and on. He told us about the secret Koch brother meetings and the hundreds of millions they were raising. They said it wasn't true the next day. Came out a month later in the Washington Post, it was true. And I'm not kissing Stone's butt. I'm just telling you, I've never talked to political analysts. Usually they're shifty. They lie to you. They're like mentally ill sociopath weasels that like tell you some bull. No, even if it's bad news for Trump, he comes and says it. So that's why they call him dirty and deceptive and evil, because he's not. See, that's this inverted universe. Has he done some dirty tricks 20 years ago against communists? Well, I mean, that's like, yes. I mean, have I stepped on cockroaches in my kitchen at night? Have I caught them in the house? Yes, I've done it. But when it comes to telling the truth about what's really going on and being a patriot and exposing the Bushes and the JFK assassination and the pedophile rings and the Clintons and all of it, it's Roger Stone. There's Gizmodo, but it's now in the Washington Post. Former Facebook workers, we routinely suppress conservative news. When they say conservative, they mean the populist movement of Americana they call extreme right-wing garbage. Stone has opposed real right-wing crazies, so has I. He's just a populist in my view, but enough about Stone, because he'll say, hey, it's about Trump. Big meetings with Ryan today, spin coming out of that. Lewandowski, who he hasn't wanted to publicly criticize, saying that he runs the campaign, he's deciding who vice president is. I mean, am I electing Lewandowski or am I electing Donald J. Trump? And listen, I'm not an infighter, everybody knows it. But Lewandowski continually acts like an egomaniac out of control. And I'm concerned, my listeners are concerned organically about Lewandowski. So, Stone, you'll never talk about him on air. You don't want to talk about him behind the scenes. I talk to other folks inside the campaign who aren't scrabbling for power. These are people really above him doing the work. This Lewandowski does whatever he wants. What is going on with Lewandowski? What happened in the Ryan meeting? You talked about it last week. It's come out now that he was trying to broker all this power. You were confirmed again. So tell us what's currently happening and what's coming next. StoneZone.com. Roger, thanks for joining us.
Alex, first of all, let me compliment you on your spiffy-looking sports jacket there. You might make the best dressed list for 2016.
Thank you, sir.
On New Year's Day, but don't bet on it. Look, I'm delighted to be with you because, as you point out, the mainstream media is trying to suppress the news of the Trump revolution. And they're particularly trying to suppress any information regarding the Clintons, which may be negative, whether it is Bill's serial assaults of women and Hillary's threats against his sexual assault victims, or whether it is the corruption of the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative. So many times I think Americans can only go to Drudge, to Breitbart, to InfoWars, to the Daily Caller, to Town Hall, and to another compendium of liberty-oriented sites. And thank God for that. But you're right. The New World Order folks are trying to even close down those outlets or censor those outlets.
Congress is now having hearings to shut us down. Drudge as a campaign operation by name, WorldNet Daily, All of Us Next, when they're the ones trying to censor us like we're Russia in 1960.
Yeah, no, look, my head is still spinning about the fact that CNN allows Ted Cruz to come on the air, attack me by name.
They say you're banned. They admit you're blacklisted. Talk about McCarthyism, so is MSNBC. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so they allow Cruz to attack me by name, but then they don't afford me the opportunity to respond, which, as you know, is journalistically unethical, and I think proves the point that CNN, the Clinton News Network, as we call them in our office, they're not a news organization. They're an advocacy group for the Clintons. They are committed to hiding the Clintons' crimes and censoring anybody who would seek to criticize them. I mean, this was manifest just the other morning when Chris Cuomo asked Donald Trump, actually point blank said, "You are criticizing Hillary for her husband's indiscretions." Alex, this isn't about indiscretion. It's not about marital infidelity. It's not about adultery. It's not about girlfriends. It's about something far darker: sexual assault and rape. So when New York Magazine writes, Trump made these allegations about Hillary being an enabler without a scintilla of evidence, no, there's plenty of evidence. Living, breathing evidence. Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, Christy Zurcher, Sandra Allen James, and dozens of others.
Well, I mean, hasn't Bill settled cases where this was claimed? That's pretty suspicious.
Yeah, he paid $850,000 to Paula Jones in the settlement of a civil case. Let's get to more important topics. The meetings today between Donald Trump and Paul Ryan, and then Donald Trump and Senator Mitch McConnell. I think the best I can see, the meeting with the House leadership was inconclusive. They agreed to continue talking. But I think the problem here, of course, is that Paul Ryan is withholding his endorsement, not recognizing that his endorsement has little value in the bigger picture.
I was about to say, who wants his endorsement? It's like the endorsement of the Black Plague or gonorrhea.
Well, he's for open borders. He's for the international trade deals that have destroyed the American economy. The truth is, on issue after issue after issue, Speaker Ryan and Donald Trump have giant differences.
Sure. I mean, it's like having John Wayne Gacy endorse you. I think Trump should just say, I don't want your filthy endorsement.
Well, look, I think Trump is trying to be conciliatory because politics, he understands, is about addition, not subtraction. It's about inclusion, not exclusion.
If they're not sneaking around trying to slit your throat.
Well, but Donald Trump, at the end of the day, is not going to pay the Republican National, or not going to authorize the Republican National Committee to pay an operation owned and controlled by Karl Rove to do $30 million worth of targeting and analytics work, which could have been done by an anonymous firm for $2 million.
So this is all about Karl Rove and the inside old neocons hijacking the entire Republican mammary gland, stealing all the milk for themselves and scuttling it for the witch Hillary.
Well, I think that's the larger implication. Yeah, this is about money. What they don't understand is that the Trump movement is bigger than the Republican Party. The Trump movement is not built around the need for party unity, because really the new measure here, Alex, is this is the Republicans and Democrats together against Donald Trump and everyone else.
That's it. It's the Republicans and Democrats against Trump and everybody else, the establishment against the populist, and Trump doesn't want to unify with Turd Blossom.
Well, if he has to have the endorsement of the Bushes and the Romneys, I think that that's a negative. I don't think that that is the requirement for winning the election. Here's my point. Expansion of the party is more important than party unity. I'm more interested in new voters than I am in old leaders. There are at least, based on my analysis, 1 million possible Trump voters, potential Trump voters, in the 10 states that are going to decide this election. The Trump campaign needs the machinery and the mechanism to go out and locate those folks and get them registered and then make sure they vote. That is a higher priority than the endorsement of Paul Ryan.
I totally agree. Let's talk about what happened at that meeting. And if I have a new family audience tuning in today, that's the name that the president in his memoirs and called Karl Rove Turd Blossom, a horrible miscreant creature, anti-conservative monster. So I'm asking people here, you know, who's more important, Turd Blossom or the actual voters? But what are you expecting them to strike back next with? You know, I warned you a few weeks ago, and I said, look, he's the presumptive nominee clearly, but I expect them to double back and try to bring Cruz back later, or Paul Ryan, because, you know, TB is behind all this. So what do you expect them to do? What do you make of those statements, and how do we defeat TB?
Well, first of all, let's be very clear. Rove did kind of a 360. Now he's for Trump, and he's going to work his magic to help Trump get elected. But he needs the element in the Republican Party, the donor element, to send him money. I mean, this is
he always does this. He always hijacks the Tea Party and milks it.
Yeah, this is as transparent as it can be. Look, Donald Trump doesn't trust Karl Rove. He doesn't like Karl Rove. He's been very direct about it. And if he has his way, I don't think the Republican National Committee will be lining the pockets of Karl Rove. The meeting with Ryan today, based on my intelligence, inconclusive. Nothing was really decided. Cordial, but Trump is not going to be extorted and he's not going to be blackmailed. On the other hand, my report, from what I hear, the meeting with Senator Mitch McConnell went extremely well.
Oh, good.
He's on board. He understands that his members who may be concerned right now are the same guys who are going to be desperate to get on the platform with Trump and get in the picture in late October. The Trump revolution is coming. This wave is coming.
Exactly.
As a good enough politician to see it. So he's being cooperative. He's being constructive. And he has a long history with
Okay,
Trump.
well, let me stop you because, listen, I've got a few other insiders not as high up as you are. I know you're outside the campaign, but former head of it and a confidant of Trump. I don't have anything out for Lewandowski. I don't dislike him. I'm not, I'm just an outsider patriot. But that's kind of good because I'm not in this whole echo chamber. I hear Lewandowski's deciding who the people are. I make calls. They go, no, that's not true. Trump's upset. Is that true? And if so, what is Lewandowski doing running around acting like he is the Karl Rove, Bush's brain to Trump? Because I know that's not true. So what's going on with Lewandowski? Is this the Lewandowski campaign or the Trump campaign? Come on, answer my question. You'll never do it. Do it, Stone. I'm a little mad here. Just okay?
Let me be as clear as I can without betraying confidences. Donald Trump is not controlled by anyone. He is his own man.
Lewandowski, look, I'm sorry. Just Lewandowski. I don't like what he's doing.
I'll come back to it. Just let me build my case. Nobody puts words in Donald Trump's mouth, including Corey Lewandowski. Nobody is going to choose the candidate for vice president other than Donald J. Trump. And knowing him, he's going to keep his list very close to the vest until he's ready to disclose it. He's the master of good public relations. So the Washington Post story that said that Corey Lewandowski will oversee the effort to choose the vice presidential nominee is false. The Washington Post's sources on that are incorrect. This was news to Donald Trump, according to an AP reporter who downplayed it in an interview when he was asked whether Corey Lewandowski was indeed spearheading this effort. Trump said, and I quote, well, we're kind of all leading it, everyone on the committee, which is a deflection, in my opinion. Now, Donald Trump is smart enough to know that open discord in his campaign is not helpful. But it is very clear that some in the entourage are more interested in feathering their own nest. Some in the entourage are more interested in measuring the drapes in their White House office, while others who are consummate political professionals like Paul Manafort are keeping their head down, not playing the press game to try to burnish their own standing and their own image, but focusing on getting Donald J. Trump elected president.
Exactly. I'm no rocket scientist, but half the time it's like Lewandowski is who we're talking about, and you never make it about Stone, or in fact, you tell me not to do that, and I get it. But, I mean, they just make it about Lewandowski. This guy is like a prancing junior high quarterback that thinks he's, Errol Flynn, and he's never even bagged a check yet.
Well, and very sadly, he has no record of ever electing anyone. I mean, his only real campaign is the re-election campaign of U.S. Senator Bob Smith, who was ignominiously defeated in the Republican primary. Historical footnote, the only Republican U.S. Senator defeated for renomination in the last 30 years. That's some political experience. Now, we have also the debacle in Louisiana, the debacle in Colorado, debacle in North Dakota, debacle in Arizona. That is the legacy of his leadership. Fortunately, the Trump campaign has turned a corner. That is all behind us, with smashing victories in New York, in Indiana, and coming in Nebraska, and coming in California. So Lewandowski is a footnote. He has aggrandized his role. He is not.
But other insiders I talk to say it's dividing the campaign and causing incredible interdivisional fights with old hands, with Reagan and everybody that don't infight, and that they just kind of ignore, the bald-headed, lobotomized stepchild stumbling around drooling.
Well, I think the best way to put this is, in my historical experience, Alex, campaigns that are divided will lose. Hillary Clinton's campaign against Barack Obama was plagued with infighting. Mark Penn versus Mandy Grunwald and others, and it destroyed that campaign. Any campaign must be run by one person. Now, the person who's running this campaign is Donald Trump. He has his vision, he has his agenda, and he has his way of doing this. These leaks saying, I'm in charge of this, I'm in charge of that, I have more power than this one, or more, that only disturbs the candidate and hurts the campaign. I truthfully hope it will stop. Paul Manafort is not going to play that game. He's dedicated to the election, the nomination and election of Donald Trump. These kind of planted stories in the Post, which are inaccurate, because Donald Trump
is all Vanity Fair, grand falloon, arrogant power trips about Lord Lewandowski. And I know Trump doesn't have experience in campaigns. He has stuff in the real world. I just wish he knew that, as somebody who's been watching campaigns closely and following him, that Lewandowski acts like a complete idiot, in my view. I mean, am I wrong in saying that?
Well, I think that he is not very good on his feet. I was surprised to see him on with my friend Sean Hannity the other night. But when Hannity said to him, so you're running the vice presidential search, he said, and I quote, well, we're really kind of all running it. So he plants this story that he's the point man in order to get on television.
But then walks it back.
And then walks it back. So
when he should have just spun it and said, well, I'm helping organize Trump's thoughts on it or something, or I'm, it's just because again, it sells the idea that Trump is his own man. Lewandowski, a lightweight, is running things when you have helped with your business partner, Manford and others, get the heaviest hitters there are in there that are patriots. And then we've got this guy running around like a baby goose, honking that he's the king. I mean, I'm just sick. It's not an ego thing for me. I want Trump to win. And you've got like a corporal trying to run the field marshal command base, in my view.
Well, and let me point out that Corey is still on the campaign payroll. Every day I work with dozens of people who have left their businesses, left their families to help Donald Trump, who are being compensated nothing, not even their expenses.
And they're banning you in the media because you're so effective.
And they're Ron Paul supporters, they're Ronald Reagan supporters, they're people I've known back to the Young Republicans, they're former Republican state chairmen, former members of Congress like Billy Hendon, who's a great patriot. These people are giving of their time and their money, and they're leaving their families to come work for free. Those are the heroes of this campaign.
And then lightweight Lewandowski is causing scandal after scandal, always making it about him in the headlines.
I think it's unfortunate, and it just doesn't serve the candidate well. Let's leave it there.
All right, I'm going to stop. I know you may have to go in 3-4 minutes. If you can do 5 more in the next hour, I've got a few other questions. Gary Haven is one of the top Republican donors out there. He's got a big film, big hit film, Amerigeddon, about to enter theaters. He was already here. I just asked him to stay because I thought he might have some good questions for you. We're going to come back in a minute, have him ask Roger Stone a few questions, stonezone.com. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. I'm going to do a 30-second plug as a time, and I'm even skipping breaks here. Great nutraceuticals, great storable foods, great Hillary for President shirts, Molon Labe, you name it, InfoWarsStore.com. 40% off on our top-selling storable foods. That's only running till the weekend. We ended the general sale, but on the 4 top sellers, it's still going. Take advantage of that. Vitamin Mineral Fusion back in stock. InfoWarsLife.com for the nutraceuticals. InfoWarsStore.com is the big umbrella site. Or call toll-free 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can answer your questions or comments. We're humbled and thankful for your support. We try to bring you the very best water filtration systems, non-GMO seeds, you name it, shortwave radios, you name it, that we use, that we've vetted, that we've tested at the lowest prices. Some of our prices are below Amazon. A lot of our products are exclusive to us. Thank you for giving us a look. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. Gary Haven, I want to introduce you to Roger Stone. And it was Haven here over a year ago that said he'd met with Cruz at the governor's mansion and was creeped out by him. And so he helped, in the last few months, torpedo Cruz. A lot of big interviews. I don't know if Stone knows who you are, but I certainly admire the work you've done. I want to get you two big brains together. Mr. Haven, go ahead and say hi and a few questions for Mr. Stone or comments.
Hey, Roger, it's really great to meet you. What a privilege. I'm shaking your hand across the airways as we speak right now.
I'm very well familiar with your work. You've done the Lord's work. You're out there. You're a patriot, and you have my respect, sir.
Oh, thank you. That's really good to know. A couple of questions I have for you. One, I just admire your courage. Man, you're standing up to a machine that has a trail of bodies as far as
I was about to ask, does he get threats? We worry about Trump.
Yeah. Do you have good protection? Are you're poking a grizzly bear?
Well, my security people asked me not to talk about it, but I have had to increase my personal security and that around my home. My wife, of course, is very concerned about this because the Clintons have a track record of having people savagely beaten, like Gary Johnson, who is a witness to Bill's involvement with Jennifer Flowers, or Jerry Parks, who I believe Bill Clinton had murdered because of what he knew about Bill's past. So it's a legitimate concern. Let me say this as I do, and every time this question comes up. Alex, if in a couple weeks they tell you that I committed suicide because I was depressed, or if I get hit by a truck crossing the street,
Or struck by a bolt of lightning.
I tell you I was killed in a freak hunting accident, don't believe it. Hillary Clinton's the major perp, and she needs to be exposed. I'm in perfectly good health. I'm in a great mood. I am working 18-hour days. I want to be honest with you. I wouldn't make it without Brain Force. I went online. I bought some Brain Force. I pop those in the morning. I pop those at night, and I get 4 or 5 more hours of work. So
I didn't know that was coming. I know you got more interviews coming up, but Roger Stone, 70-second break. We're with Gary Haven, Marigeddon, the new movie. Come back, 70 seconds. Finish up the lavish plug for Brain Force, but a few other questions for Mr. Haven. Then we have our guest host, Anthony Gucciardi, taking over. Roger Stone's our guest, StoneZone.com. The tip of the spear in the populist movement behind Trump to restore the Republic. Back in 70. You're sweet, I tell you. The best part of my job is knowing people like Roger Stone and Gary Haven and Matt Drudge and all these other folks that are great patriots but scared to go on air, and Mike Norris and Chuck Norris. I always loved Kurt Russell. Turns out he's a listener and a patriot. I always loved, not bragging, it's just how many people are fellow travelers in a liberty way, not a communist way. Even Jeff Bridges, big listener. It's like any actor I love, they end up being a listener. Of course, they're patriots. They're cool. We resonate. We pick up on that. And Trump's only a manifestation of that. And I think he knows that. I know you've got a few final questions. I've got some. Roger Stone, at his core, seeing this, Trump realizes this is history. This is destiny. It's not some egomaniac thing. He really does care about America. He knows the globalists hate America. He's trying to make a stand against him. He knows he's on a potential mission that'll destroy him politically or even physically. Quite frankly, a suicide mission, some could call it. Who is, in 60 seconds, Donald Trump, and any other tidbits?
Above all, he's his own man. He's a nationalist. He's a patriot. He totally gets it. He's not a fan of Wall Street. He's not a fan of K Street. But above all, he is fiercely independent. And Alex, I got to tell you, I've dealt with some very tough customers, Richard Nixon among them. Donald Trump is the toughest human being I've ever met with. He is mentally tough in a negotiation, which I've seen firsthand. This man has ice water in his veins. So when it comes to dealing with the Russians or the Chinese or any of our adversaries, he's the man you want. He's not a social worker. He's not a weakling. He's not Barack Obama. He is the tough guy we need, both mentally tough and physically tough.
And he's not a fake guy, I've been told. I mean, he just genetically wants a good deal for everybody and just won't be pushed around. And that's why they're scared of him. They're scared to death of him.
Yeah, and I think above all, his greatest single commitment really is to economic growth. He remembers what the American dream was like when he was growing up, and now he sees all these kids getting out of college, spend their parents going deep into debt or them going to debt themselves.
He'd rather just be a great patriot and a great American, not a buzzard feeding on our skeleton. Gary Haven, quick question for the consummate Trump insider, Roger Stone.
You know, Roger, I was invited for the 3rd time by Eric Beach to be on a small group of advisors for Trump. And I've been waiting for my movie to come out so I wouldn't have a biased opinion on it. But today or yesterday, Pat Buchanan wrote an article saying that Trump should not taint his victory by going to these establishment Republicans and trying to get them to cooperate. And I think you talked a good bit about that today. You know, Trump's movement is because people are waking up and they've realized their country's been stolen. And he is providing the leadership that gives us hope that we can take it back. So do you think that that there's enough of us freedom-minded people to drive Trump to victory without compromising with the establishment?
Yeah, I think that's precisely the point. In other words, if this were Republicans versus Democrats, then the concept of party unity would be crucial. You would need every possible Republican. The point is that Donald Trump is bigger than the Republican Party, and he has the capability to bring millions of Democrats and independents.
What's he already brought? 2.5 million more in?
Yeah.
So we already have 3 million more voters than they do. Let's take Florida, for example. Mitt Romney lost in the general election in Florida by 30,000 votes. 350,000 more people voted for Trump in the Republican primary in Florida than voted for Mitt Romney 4 years ago. The handwriting's on the wall. Trump can carry Florida. Now, I have concerns about the group that Mr. Beach is associated with because they have a $600,000 debt. And of the $1 million they claim to spend in Wisconsin, a more careful reading shows that they only spent $100,000.
Well, we're going to do this. I'm going to get you, if it's okay, I'm going to give Mr. Haven your number right when this broadcast ends, Mr. Stone.
Sure, I'd be happy to talk.
If you guys can talk right after the show, right after I end here, we've got Anthony Gucciardi about to come in and take over with all the fresh news and info. Roger Stone, thanks for all the inside baseball. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend coming up, sir.
Great to be with you as always. And Gary, my regards.
Thank you. Glad to meet you.
All right, Gary Haven, congratulations on Amerigeddon coming out tonight and tomorrow and already having hit reviews. Thank you so much. And to you and Mr. Norris and others, God bless you.